with Larry Megan.
Well, good evening to you wherever you may be. Welcome to Chillin' with Larry Megan. I'll tell you what, tonight's show's a little different here for me, and I'm really excited about it. We're going to be talking a little bit about some classic cars, but also garages, man. I'm telling you, I met this gentleman through Watch Geeks. I know some of you out there that are watching the show, you know all about Watch Geeks, and of course I'm in the watch business, and many of you know that. But anyway, we have some music too, Maddie, for our gentleman here. But anyway, I met him through Watch Geeks, and on the category of off topic, I went into the forum there, and it said, just finished my dream garage. And I really didn't think twice about it. I thought, well, it's a dream, so let's see what he's talking about. And it just blew me away. I never gave much thought to my own garage here, but it gave me all kinds of ideas. And I have so many questions I do want to ask David, and it was just so incredible that I wanted to reach out to this guy. And we never had spoken before. I didn't know who he was. And he responded, and I had to invite him to be on the show, and he was more than happy to oblige. And so he's a watch collector. He collects cars. I've learned a little bit something about David. There's a lot more to him than just the garages. He's got a real collector mentality, and I'm really happy to have him on the show. Let's bring him in right away if we can, guys. I know he's standing by. David, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Like I said, David, you know, I was blown away when I saw that thread you put on there about just finishing your dream garage. And I'm so happy that, you know, you were open-minded to, you know, come on here and join us, because it's not, you know, the norm. But you know what? Then I opened up a whole new world. I found out there's a lot of guys that are interested in garages. There's a whole nother forum I just discovered, and I went and even made a post on there. Are you familiar with Garage Journal?
Oh, yeah, I'm a member.
You know, I was trying to find you on there, but there's like millions of guys on there. I couldn't find your post on there.
It's quite a large sickness. There's quite a community, that's for sure.
Okay, cool. Well, let me a couple of things before we get into you know, this topic here. Anybody new to anybody new to Acorn TV, please click on the Facebook button on the right-hand side of the page, and you know, do like our Acorn TV Facebook fan page. Whenever we have different guests and what have you, you know, or we change the show time or something like that, we're going to make a post and let you know who's going to be on the show and what we're doing. So please like our Facebook page and help us to spread the word. Now, also for tonight, I want to encourage everybody who's watching, you know, give us a call. Call into the studio. Thanks for flashing that number, Maddie. Flash it again. We've got Candy out there on the phones, and she's going to be taking your calls. And what we're going to do for the best call of the night, or what we deem to be the best contribution to the show tonight, we're going to give away a pair of tickets. And it's a pair of tickets to the AMC theaters. It's about a $24 value. They usually go for $12 a piece. And it's a nice gift. We've given it away before, and there's pretty much AMC theaters all over the country. So that's going to go to the best call of the night. And, you know, if you want to email any questions in, we can also take your email questions. Hold on one second. Gallagher, hold on 1 minute, okay? I got a friend of mine calling in right now and on my cell phone, and I want him to call into the show because he knows a thing or two about garages and cars himself. But anyway, for the best participation of the show tonight, we are going to give away a pair of AMC movie theater tickets. All right, now. Yeah, would you please? Here, take this. Talk to my friend. That's Gallagher. All right, now, David.
Yes.
Okay, man. I know we kind of met basically through watches, so let's start there, okay? Tell me about your watch collection or your watch, your watch hobby.
You know, it started a few years ago. I've always enjoyed watches. The first watch I fell in love with, I'm a history major and a NASA junkie, and fell in love with the Omega Speedmaster, obviously with all the history of the Apollo program. I saw it back in high school and knew I had to have it, and my wife ended up buying it for me for a wedding present. So I was pretty lucky, and that kind of kicked off the whole watch craze. I got kind of a little bit into it. My wife always says if I get into something, I always go a little bit too far. So, I can't complain there. Can't argue that. But I got up to about 75 watches, 75 to 100 watches, and now I'm back down to about 25 of my favorite watches. So it's fun.
Yeah. Well, what came first, watches or cars?
Cars.
Cars. Okay. I can tell you have a real collector mentality because not just with the garage and the watches and the cars, but also I saw your photos on your Facebook page. You've got some Star Wars stuff too.
Yeah, that came first. Star Wars was first, then cars, then watches.
Okay.
Ever since I was a little kid, I was into Star Wars.
All right.
And obviously, I did what all boys do. They burnt and blew up all their Star Wars toys and collectibles. And I slowly started replacing my collection over the years, and it's been fun. Rebuilding the collection, and it's kind of morphed into a collection of cars and Star Wars now. So,
well, can you see the monitor here? Can you tell what are we looking at right here?
You're looking at the back wall of the garage is a 2,500 square foot garage, and the bottom level's cars and automotive collectibles. The top level is arcade games, pinball machines, pool table, jukebox, and Star Wars. And that what you're looking at there is 4 shelves, and the Emperor from Star Wars is all the way to the left. Then I have a bunch of figures there, the complete Episode 1 figures, helmets, all the original boxed items. There's a 60-inch TV, a Star Wars arcade game up there. All the stuff on the top is all vintage, all in the box. All the stuff in the curio cabinet straight back there is Star Wars figures. I have the whole original 96 and a lot of weird variants.
What is this? What is this one here, David?
That was me trying to organize my Star Wars stuff. Those are all individual. That's all new stuff. That's 95 and newer. And,
I mean, are you selling this stuff or? That
was stuff that I actually had put on eBay, and I had to thin out my collection just because it got so out of control that I had to. So my wife, it was actually, you guys will appreciate this story. My wife said to me, "You're buying too much stuff on eBay." She said, "How about I'll make you a deal?" She says, "If you sell something on eBay, I'll allow you to keep the money from that to buy something else." So I said, "Okay, that sounds fair." So the first collection I put on there sold for $11,000. So she was pretty disgruntled. She said, $11,000? You just sold an auction for $11,000? And she ran to her closet and looked in there, and she was looking for something to sell. She had nothing in her closet she could sell. She was frustrated with me, so that kind of kicked off the selling on eBay and doing all that. But eBay it's been fun, and I don't know what collectors did without it before. So it's pretty interesting stuff.
I can relate to the whole collector mentality, whether it's Star Wars or watches or whatever. It's a mentality, and I know when I was a kid, I was absolutely obsessive about baseball cards. No one had a bigger collection than me. I had like 20,000 cards going back to 49 Bowmans and 57 Tops, and I had to have the full sets, and Bell Brand, Sandy Koufax, and I had the old Post cereal cards and everything, and I ended up selling the whole collection, and I regret doing that. But so I had that mentality going, so I can certainly relate. Now listen, hang tight. We're just going to deviate for a second. I've got a friend of mine on the line here, Don Gallagher from Los Angeles. I don't think it's going to be a question related to cars, but I got to get Don in here for a second. So you keep David on the screen. Don, can you hear me?
Hey, Len. Actually, I'm with Zach right now. And
Zach is Don's son, but go ahead.
Hey, when he got in the car, he said, "Did you hear what we did today?" And I said, "No." He said, "We got Dwight Howard." And I said, "That's unbelievable."
The Lakers? The Lakers got Dwight Howard?
Yeah.
You're kidding.
They got him today about maybe a half hour ago, 45 minutes ago.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing.
Bynum's gone. We got Howard.
Well, that's amazing. It's going to be great for the Lakers. But more importantly, how's Zach doing up at University of Michigan?
He's doing well. He's doing well. Doing well.
Is he still running track?
You can talk to him about that. Are you running track?
Zach, are you still running track?
Not really, though. Focusing on school.
He's focusing on school, but he is gonna attempt to run this year again, and soccer too. But he's really focused on school. I don't know what happened, but
well, that's a good thing, Don. It's okay. He's focused on school.
Yeah, it's whatever he wants.
All right.
Whatever he wants.
All right. Well,
So
Don, thanks for
great.
the good news. We're going to get back to our webcast now, and I appreciate the call. And you and I'll catch up a little later. Okay.
Be well, all right, and good luck tonight.
Thanks, Don.
See ya.
All right. So I had a call from an old friend of mine. We grew up as kids together and played basketball in high school together and everything else. And he wanted to share the news that Dwight Howard's now on the Lakers.
They've been keeping that hush-hush.
Oh, were they?
Yeah. That's why he's saying this a half hour ago. They were asking him what was going on. He said, I can't say anything. So.
Oh, really? I didn't even know. I've been so busy preparing for the show, I think the Lakers are going to need him. It looks like Kobe's really starting to fall off the map a little bit. Although, let's see if he can come up with a big game for the U.S. in the gold medal game or something.
Yep.
All right. Well, okay, good enough. So we talked a little bit about your Star Wars collection. The cars came first before the watches. But where did the whole interest in the cars come from? Was that strictly your dad, or how did that start?
My dad always had an appreciation for cars. Always liked them, but we never, had anything fancy growing up. And then I bought moved from Seattle to Maryland in high school, and it was when the import car scene was pretty young and still new. And I bought a 91 Honda Accord, and I started modifying it, and it was driving my dad absolutely bonkers. Every day you come home, there'd be something else on it. This was 94, 95, ordering parts from Japan and, lowering it, putting exhaust on it, putting stripes on it. It was driving my dad just absolutely crazy. And, he gave me a really hard time, and he said, what are you're ruining the car. And, it was just, he was just heartbroken over this Honda. So, always just messing with cars. And, I never considered myself a gearhead. I didn't enjoy working on them as much as I enjoyed driving them and, being a fool in the car. But, I was always did awful in school. And my dad says, you're not really doing anything after high school. He says, why don't you go to automotive school? Right. I was like, I don't know anything about cars. And, decided to go to Lincoln Technical Institute in Baltimore and got hired by Porsche to come work for them. And, Dad never really questioned me after that. But I used to drive him crazy.
But now you got him into it now, right?
Yeah, I don't know if we kind of went in together. The first car he bought is the one that I own. It's a 1934 Chevy. And it's nicknamed, my mom named it Spanky. And it's a 1934 Chevy, 409W block, 4-inch chop.
That's the red one.
It's the red one, yep. And that was kind of our first car that we bought together, and just kind of got into it together at the same time. A great story behind the hot rod. I remember we were in the red hot rod, and we had taken it from the dealership that we were dealing with, high-end dealership in Potomac, Maryland, and we brought it home to my mom, and we said, you've got to see this car. You're going to love it. So we got home and pulled in the driveway, and the car was running, just had this great sound to it. And we shut the doors and got out and ran and got my mom, and she came out to the car and she says, "Oh, it's beautiful." She said, "Let me see inside." My dad and I looked at each other, and there's no door handles on the car, and the windows were up. It's chopped and channeled, and the door handles have been shaved. We could not figure out how to get back into the car for the life of us. So that was kind of the first, Polish moment we had with the hot rod, where we, you know, it was really funny. My mom just shook her head and went back inside, and we ended up finding the switch to open up the door. But it was a real eye opener. Made us look, you know, you can only be so cool in a hot rod. You know, it's always something to bring you back to reality.
But
So,
it really looks nice. So then you went ahead and you really restored the car properly, right?
well, actually, it was restored by a Maryland sheriff. And he had restored the car, and we were dealing with a place that's no longer in business, and they deal with, you know, just high-end and exotic and classic cars, and we bought it from them, and it's been a lot of fun, just you know, having the car. My dad had the car for 10 years, and we put about 80 miles on it in 10 years, and they ended up moving out to from Virginia to Oregon, and I bought the car from him. I just wanted to keep it in the family, and I've put 3,000 miles on it in a year and a half.
You actually do drive it, huh?
Oh, I drive it. I drive it like it's stolen. I drive it the way it's supposed to. As my dad would say, I'm airing it out. So
Wow.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Do you take that car to shows?
I do. You know, one thing about this whole car collectible, you know, hobby and car collectors, I really am a fond believer in driving them. And you know, I built a 71 911. I bought it at Barrett Jackson, and the car was so 3,000 original miles on it, and I was afraid to drive it. And the hot rod's not perfect, but it's a driver, and you know, I've taken it to a few shows and people enjoy it. But you know, I really, you know, if you can't drive them, why have them? You know, I believe in, you know, everything we have, to sharing them with others, and driving it. And I really enjoy driving the car. You know, I've always been in, it's my first big block, and it just, it gives you a good feeling being behind the wheel. Always feel like, you know, American Graffiti. I feel like I should roll a pack of cigarettes up in my sleeve.
Well, that's cool. Now, this has become something that now you and your dad can do together, right? Where you guys can work on a car together, although as much as you can, being 3,000 miles apart.
Yeah, yeah. He was, when he was living here, we had about 20 cars in our collection. And, you know, we would always exercise the cars together. And, you know, we'd pick two cars and we'd go, you know, follow each other through or drive down the road. And it was always a lot of fun. It was a way that him and I could bond together. And my mom was always horrified whenever the two of us would go to a car dealership together, because it was for sure that we were both coming home with a car. So we just...
Now, I mean, I'm sure that, you know, people are wondering, you know, obviously this is not a, you know, this is not like, you know, collecting, you know, pennies here. I mean, this takes some money. What does your dad do for a living? I mean, he must be something.
He was in the biotech industry.
Okay. I guess that's a pretty well-paying industry.
Yeah, I mean, it was good to him. He worked very hard. So
yeah. So is he retired now?
He is. He's a professional board member now.
Wow.
So, yeah, he helps other companies, and he really enjoys it. So he was always a big believer in education and school and trying to better yourself. And
awesome.
And, yeah, I have a lot of respect for him.
Well, let's take a look here. Now, before we take a look at these cars, my question that I think about is, are you the one that's actually working on them, or do you have a mechanic that you work closely with and you kind of instruct him, or do you actually, you know, get in there with the tools and everything and really, you know, work on these things?
It depends on the car. You know, I had a 911 twin turbo, and although I work for Porsche, you know, you need so many specialty tools and computer tools to work on the cars that you just don't want to touch the cars. There's certain cars that it's better to leave them to the professionals. There's that's my 2007 911 twin turbo, and that was my 71 911 that I bought from Barrett Jackson in 2005.
And that's the silver car.
Yeah, the silver car. That was the one I was horrified to drive. We, you know, spent a lot of time. I had that one professionally restored. I had the engine completely rebuilt. You know, I had an idea of what I wanted the car to look like, but you know, there's certain cars. I had a Miata, supercharged Miata, little white car. That car was all done by me. Every bolt, everything done was me. The hot rod I work on myself. You It just depends on the car, but sometimes it's better to leave it to trained professionals.
Okay,
So,
but you obviously enjoy working on them. Just out of curiosity, how many cars at a single time do you, like right now, how many cars do you personally own right now?
we have 4 right
Okay.
now. So I have the '81 DeLorean, I have the 1934 Chevy, I have a Jeep that I've been kind of hooking up and kind of doing the safari thing with. It's a
I think we
2000.
have the picture of the Jeep. Well, this is the DeLorean. Now, what is that, a local gas station or is that on your property?
Oh no, that's another buddy who has the same addiction I do.
And you guys have you belong to a DeLorean club, right?
I do, but that's his deal is he is a local guy and he collects old petroglyph, all automotive stuff, and has a huge behind that building. He's got I'd say 20 to 30 classic Model A and Model T Fords. So he's got a whole basically built an original 1930s Ford dealership. But out front, I parked my DeLorean there and just thought I'd make a cool shot. So.
And what are we looking at here? It looks like there's 3 DeLoreans in the driveway.
Yeah, that's a couple buddies and I decided to get together and take a ride out to my parents' place and just enjoy the back roads. And
is this the Sweetwater Estates?
That is Sweetwater Estate. Yep.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about that because, my question, of course, was when we first talked, what do you do? And you told me you manage Sweetwater Estate, and we're going to talk about that too. Before we do, though, Ronnie and Maddie, if we could, I'd like to just scroll through these pictures of the cars that we have and let David tell us about each one. Now, he already pretty much ran through them, but take a look at this one here, David. What are we seeing here now? Is this one yours, or I'm talking about that? It looks like a low-cut Prowler or something like that.
Yep.
What is that?
That's a 2001 Plymouth Prowler. It was last year of Plymouth. That's number 52 of 150. There were actually 163 made.
Is that one yours or your dad's?
That's my dad's.
Okay.
And that's in front of the Williamsburg Winery. And the Prowler, it's a great car. It's one of my favorites. It's kind of new technology with old school flair, and that's probably one of my favorites that he has.
Awesome. All right, give us another one, boys. Now, this one's your Jeep?
Yes, that's the day I put the rack on it. I have a full safari rack. I have an awning on it now. Getting ready to do a lift kit, and I'm going to put 35s on it. I had a Mini Cooper, and we had a baby 6 months ago, and I needed more room. And this is going to be my 5th Jeep. I've had quite a few Wranglers. I had 2 Grand Cherokees. One of them ended in a horrible rollover collision. So yeah, I'm a big Jeep fan.
Well, this to me looks like the car that, you have a whole bunch of cars, but hey, you got to run to the store. You got to go, run some errands. You got to go to the whatever.
Yeah.
This is the car that I would think you'd pick up to, run around in, no?
Yeah, it's the grocery getter. And, we have a kayak. We love kayaking, so you can throw that on the roof and, head out into the mountains, and you can basically do anything you want.
Yeah, I'm kind of a truck guy myself. I have an Explorer now, and not an Explorer, excuse me. I have an Expedition, and then before that, I had a Range Rover. But I like, I like having sitting up high and driving a SUV type of thing.
I had a Land Rover Discovery and loved that too.
I had the county version, the old Oxblood, if you remember the Range Rover Oxblood.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I had that for a lot of, especially during my football years when all these big guys, it was like driving down the street in the living room. It was pretty cool.
Only you could make it look like a clown car, Larry.
That's pretty funny. All right. So, okay, we saw the Jeep. What do you have next there, Maddie? Now, what do we have here? This looks like you're at a show or something, no?
Yeah, we were up in Charlottesville, and that was our 2001 Boxster S. And my wife there and another nice couple we met, Navy pilot. And they had about 50 Porsches, and we all got together and Went to a couple wineries and just messed around Charlottesville.
Man, it sounds like you live a life of fun, and I think that's one of your philosophies, right?
Yeah, it's one of them. Yeah, I think that's what used to make my parents angry when I was in high school. I had the same philosophy. I haven't changed. So.
Okay. What else we got there, Maddie? Now, that's your DeLorean. We saw this.
Yep.
Well, by the way, let's go back to the DeLorean for a second. What is it about the DeLorean that, it seems like that's an important car for you? What is it about that attracts you to that?
It's the most important car I've ever had. Back when, 83, 84, when he got in trouble, basically all the DeLoreans were confiscated and sold off. And we used to go get furniture when I was a little kid from a place called Unclaimed Freight and Salvage. And it was kind of like a scratch and dent place.
Okay.
And I remember going there in 83, and end of 83, and there were 30, 40 DeLoreans out front. And I used to just sit there and stare and stare. My parents would say, "We're going inside." I said, "I just want to wait here. I just want to stand outside and see the car." And I would just stand there for as long as they were in there and just stare at these cars. And it became an obsession. And then Back to the Future came out, and in 85, and I was done. I thought that was the coolest thing, seeing the DeLorean, and I've always wanted a DeLorean. Actually, my dad got it for me as a graduation present from Lincoln Tech, and I've had it since 2001. So it's been fully restored down in Texas. I sent it down to Texas in 2005. And it was a 2-year restoration. They did an amazing job, and that car is unbelievable now. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, great. Listen, we got a caller on the line, a good friend of mine up in Northern California, and I want to bring him into the show right away. I actually reached, because of you, David, I reached out to him. We haven't spoken in probably, I don't know, at least 6 months anyway, maybe even close to a year. But he's a very good friend of mine, and we grew up as kids together also. This is like reunion night here.
That's great.
But I was so impressed with, your collection. I think I mentioned to you, you immediately reminded me of a good friend of mine who also likes to collect cars and also antiques. He loves to go antiquing. My friend Scott Parris from Black Hawk, California. Scott, welcome into the show.
Yeah, you make it sound like we're such good friends. I call you more than once a year.
We used to be really tight friends, and we still are. It's just that, hey, we live thousands of miles apart now, Scott.
That's right. How are you, Larry?
Fantastic, fantastic. I don't know if you've been watching the show tonight, but when I saw David's collection and everything, I thought of you immediately because I'll never forget. And, you guys don't need to see me. Can we give them a split screen with Scott and David? Because they see me all the time, okay? Or even if you want to go to a four-way, Ronnie, with all of us. Now we're just using a picture of Scott tonight. And, Scott, you don't have too many pictures to choose from. This isn't the best shot of you. Although I have that picture of him with the cigar that he's more recent. But anyway, I'll never forget, Scott. It must have been in the I want to say late 70s, maybe early 80s. I came up to visit you, and this was it's not that long after you had that really bad weightlifting accident. And you took me in the garage. I think you were in maybe Danville at that time. I don't remember exactly where you were living. And you had this car covered up. And you said, "Here, help me uncover this." And I'm uncovering the car. And it was that beautiful 65 or 64 Mustang you had, and it was just incredible. And you opened up the hood, and you had to pour in the juice. You had to pour in the gas and everything by hand. And then you threw the keys to me. You said, "All right, Larry, go ahead. You're going to take it for a spin around the block." And you wouldn't even let, your girlfriend take it around the block, and you let me drive it around the block.
Well,
do you remember that car, Scott?
I do, but look, let's go back even further. The reason why I let you drive that car is because you taught me how to drive a stick in that old Vega of yours.
Well, yes, I did teach you. Absolutely. I was too drunk to drive that night. We were like 17 years old. And it was like 3 a.m, and there was nobody else on the freeway, and you were using the whole 4 or 5 lanes of the freeway like one big lane, cutting corners. And, man, I'll never forget that. And we finally got home to my house, and I'll never forget it. David, excuse us while we reminisce a little bit here, but I mean, we were kids and we were drinking. We shouldn't have been, and we're throwing up in the parking lots and everything. And I didn't want my parents to find out. So Scott drove me home in my stick shift Vega. He didn't know how to drive a stick, and I'm trying to tell him what to do, and I'm drunk. And Scott actually picked me up. And if you remember my condo at that time, Scott, it was 3 stories from the ground. And Scott literally just picked me up like a sack of potatoes. My parents were in the other room sleeping, walked me up, carried me up 3 flights of stairs, and you put me in bed and tiptoed out of there. My parents never even knew it. You remember that?
I do. How can they not hear a 300-pound man tiptoeing out of their house?
This is a true story, man. But, and you let me drive that Mustang, and that was special. But tell us about that Mustang, Scott. We have a car enthusiast here with David. Tell us about it.
Well, I had two of them, Larry. I had a 64.5 that had the 260 V8 in it, and that was the blue one. And then I also had a 65 GT convertible, one of the first 65 GT convertibles, which was a cream-colored, yellow, creamy-looking with the black interior. So I'm not sure which one you drove.
I think it was the 64.5. I remember you saying, I think it was either number 4 or number 13 off the line.
Yeah, that was the 64.5. That was a great car. I showed it all over Northern California. And then my uncle owned a 65 GT convertible, one of the first ones, and I always wanted that car. So when my uncle passed, God love him, the family didn't want the vehicle, and I sold my 64.5, and I ended up buying that one from the family and kept that for years. And now I'm looking for a 68 KR convertible, the king of the road. The Shelby is one of my all-time favorites. But it's funny that, you're talking about the DeLorean. I just bought a piece of property in San Jose, California for my new scrapyard. No, I'm not trying to get any TV time on that, but
that's okay.
We found an old DeLorean inside the warehouse.
So how do I go about getting that shipped out to Virginia?
Do what now?
How do I go about getting that shipped out to Virginia if you don't want it?
Well, a couple of the guys that work for me, they wanted it. And so I went online, and the place that you had yours fixed in Texas, I think that's the only place that has all the parts for them. I see that you can get all the parts for the DeLoreans, and these guys really wanted it. And the first thing they were going to try and do was paint it. And I said, guys, it's stainless steel. Paint doesn't adhere to the stainless very well. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, that's there was quite a few that they did that they painted from the factory, but even after they're stripped, it's really hard to get that stainless back. You definitely do not want to paint it. It's definitely hard to get it to adhere, and it's better to actually have the grain reworked on it. But what a cool story that is.
Yeah, it was. It's interesting. There was a Cougar in there as well that had 4,000 miles on it. There was this DeLorean, and then there's a pair of Lincoln Continentals Mark IVs from '79 that have 19,000 miles on them. It's like a time capsule in this warehouse that I opened up.
Unbelievable. Yeah, those Continentals are like the pimp mobile.
Oh, they belong in New Jersey.
Oh, that's great. Hey, there's also a DeLorean. They have the place in Texas. They have one in Midwest, and they have one in Bellevue, Washington, which is closer to you, too, if you need parts. They're pretty good, too.
Okay, well, or you could just drive out and give the guys about 20 large, and I'm sure they'd be happy to sell it to you.
Or that. I mean, that would be great. I have an extra space in the garage right now.
Scott, one of the things that keep the picture on them, boys. They don't need to see me. But listen, one of the things that reminded me of you, Scott, when I looked at David's garage, and we haven't even begun to show his garage yet tonight. We've been talking about cars. The garage is awesome. But he had those antique gas pumps in there. And I know, Scott, you used to love to go antiquing, especially with Judy, your wife. Remember her? But I'm kidding, because I know you're...
Let me stop you right there, Larry.
Yeah.
When you're looking for antiques that are guy stuff, it's mantiquing.
Okay.
It's mantiques, okay?
Okay.
Just to get,
All
get
right.
it straight.
All right. Well, anyway, Scott, I know you used to like to go mantiquing, but did you? I know you had some jukeboxes and things like that, Scott. Did you ever have any of these antique gas pumps?
You know, I was going to get one, but to restore them, really, you have to have guys that really know what they're doing. Like there's a show, there's a gentleman in Las Vegas who has his own show now. He's very, very good at what he does, and you know, I have a game room, you know, the jukebox and the slot machines and the you've seen it, Larry, and the 1886 pool table and all the other stuff, you know. But the gas, you really have to have a big garage or a big area to start collecting those, and you have to want to put the time and effort into them. They are beautiful. You know, to try and find one with the original glass on them is hard to do. So most of them that you see out there that are in mint condition have probably been reworked, and they cost a lot of money to do and takes a lot of. It's like redoing a car, like anything else. But that's one of the only things I didn't get. You know, I have the barber pole, I have everything else, but I never did get one of those because I never got the 14-car garage. I only ended up with 13, and just
You know, I know a lot of people out there think that you're kidding around, but Scott, you got a mansion up there in Blackhawk. But listen, while I've got you on the phone, Scott, let's take a look at some of those garage pictures of David's because they're very impressive. Maddie, you got those queued up? All right. Oh, I see. We got to go back now. We're going to get those up in just a second here. So, Scott, are you able to watch the show as we're speaking, Scott?
I'm looking at you with those.
Those readers.
I'm looking at you with those nice glasses that you're wearing there. There we go.
All right. Well, listen, Scott, you know, most people, you know, they recognize me like this. You know, you remember me as a skinny guy, but I'm not so skinny anymore. So I look a little different. I've lost all my hair and I've gained a bunch of weight and everything. But, you know, well, you and I have had some stories, Scott. I remember playing tennis with you, too, and golf. Scott is a great golfer, by the way. He was a long ball champion. But anyway, take a look at this, Scott. Now, these are some of the pictures, and you know you can see barely in this picture one of the pumps, and we're going to let David tell us what we're looking at here. But before we do, one of the things that immediately caught my eye on some of these pictures, I love the floor, believe it or not. The floor is sparkles. It looks like you could eat off of it.
Yeah,
I like. I want that Roadrunner.
Yeah, that sign was custom made for me. You know, it's one of those things. We were living in Williamsburg. We had a 2-car garage, and it was a 2,400 square foot house, but it was on 2/10 of an acre. And we decided that we needed more room. And you know, with my car stuff, I was annoying the neighbors. And basically, we came out to Gloucester, which is kind of outside of Williamsburg, and we built the house, and one of the prerequisites, I wanted a big detached garage. So got with the builder, and he built me a 2,500 square foot detached garage. It's 4 bays. It's 50 by 30, and basically, we got a hot water heater out there. It's got a bathroom, and then heat and air on both levels. You can see the air registers in the ceiling there.
Go back to that shot, boys.
Yeah, I have obviously the back wall is all golf. All those signs you're looking at right there, a lot of those are reproductions, except for that big round 1951 Pontiac coin. The gas pump there, the Texaco, is a reproduction.
Oh, it is.
Yep, you can pick those up for about $1,000 now. That I have a couple that are original, but that was one of the first ones that we got, and Dad and I went to go pick that up in Pennsylvania together. It was a good day, and lined up there. I'm into custom knives. So that first is a case display, and then we have a fridge full of cold root beer. Then we have a freezer full of ice cream for root beer floats, and basically the garage is a showroom. We kind of wanted a unique look, and those are all my toolboxes from when I worked at Porsche. They're all packed full of tools. The gray cabinets there to the left all have cleaning supplies, waxes. I'm big into detailing, do a lot of shows. That piece above the toolbox to the left, you see the small Gulf sign there up in the corner. That was the piece that started it all. I bought that at Barrett-Jackson in 2005, that little Gulf little medallion. And, I had bought the 71 911 at Barrett-Jackson, and Gulf was a big sponsor of Porsche back in 71, obviously with Le Mans and all that. And basically bought that sign because I thought it'd be cool with the Porsche, and that sign started this whole mess in my garage.
That's how it starts. It's you find that first piece, and it's like an alcoholic or a drug addict. It gets into your skin, and you just keep going. But it's lasting memories. A lot of guys out here on the West Coast, I'm noticing that are doing garages like this, and yours is beautiful. A lot of them are doing the black and white tiled floors like the checkered flags.
Mm-hmm.
We have a shot here, a better shot where we can see the floor, guys. Go ahead, move forward on this, on the shots. This is interesting here, all these old, looks like antique.
They're die-cast, 1/18 scale die-cast cars in the case.
Look at all the oil cans. Did you live, is this home near where William and Mary, the tribe, the college William and Mary?
We're about 40 minutes away, half hour.
Beautiful area.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
On this shot right here, you can see the floor pretty well. There's another shot where you can really see the reflection coming up. But now what about that particular gas pump? Is that also a repro?
That is all original. That's actually a really rare pump. That's an original Sinclair aircraft pump. And I can't find a whole lot of information about them. From what I understand, they used them in the 30s and 40s at airports to fill up small planes. And found that locally here. One good thing about the East Coast versus the West Coast, obviously lived on both now, is that you can find stuff that's pretty old sitting out here, and just weeding through stuff and going through old farms. It's amazing what you can find, and it's all about the hunt. But
it's like these guys on the shows, these pickers that are going out and finding these things. There's a neighbor of mine that has an old gas pump in his game room, and it's the one that has the big tall glass, the real old ones, and he actually made that into a fish tank.
Fantastic.
People are very creative what they do with these old antiques. But it's a joy. It's a joy to be able to go out and rummage around. It's therapeutic for me. I've got a house and 3 warehouses full of this garbage, and I asked my kids if they'd like to have it, and they said, no. So I'm in the selling mode these days, and as you get older, you want to scale down. And if your kids don't want the things, which is, you'd hope they would have your interest, but to them it's just old stuff, and to you and I, it's works of art. And just walking in, just that table and chairs that you showed there, well, those are beautiful cars. But if you go back one picture, that table and chairs that looks like it's out of an old diner. To me, that's beautiful right there.
I love it.
Yeah, that's actually I deal with a place here in Tuano, everything vintage, and they, I deal with he'll call me when he's on a pick and say, I've got this piece, or send me pictures. I know what you're looking for, and they're really good about it. But that's an original original table from the 50s, and I can tell you, I can go through pieces in my garage and tell you where I bought it, who I was with. All those thousands of pieces in there, and I have it all cataloged in my mind. And it's all about the hunt, and it's relaxing and therapeutic. And, Scott, you were saying, it's like a drug habit. The only problem, this is more expensive than drugs. So.
It is. It's amazing. I can go through my game room, and, I have thousands of pieces in there, and I can tell people where I bought it, what I paid for it, what it's worth today, but I can't tell you what I had for breakfast.
Well, the breakfast isn't important,
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, Scott, this picture that we have of you up now, it looks like you've grown, some fuzz on your chin there, and you got a cigar in your mouth. Is this a current picture of you?
Yeah, that's I have a place in Coronado, California, which is a little island in San Diego, where our beautiful Navy SEALs work out every day. And I'm an old surfer, and that's I got out of the water about 3 hours. I was in the water, believe it or not, Larry, I still surf and paddle surf, and
I remember Scott. I remember your nickname, of course. Should we say it on the air?
Go ahead.
Moby.
That's it.
I know. Hey, Mobes.
You must be doing longboard now, though.
Let me tell you, I used one. I was the original longboarder, and my board now is even longer and wider.
See, I'm really into the old, the Greg Knoll and Robert August, the old school guys. That's where it's at.
Oh yeah, listen, I've got to talk about going out and finding things. I was at a garage sale. I would say this goes back 20 years ago, I would say. And I'm sitting at this guy's garage sale, and I just bought something, that I already have 20 of that I don't need for $2. And I look in the garage, and I see this fin hanging down, and I already know what it is. And I go over, and it's about a 12-foot long orange big gun from Hawaii. It was a 1962 Kioki fire stick. So I said to the guy, I said, "Is that for sale?" He says, "Are you kidding?" He says, when I got married in 1962, I bought that. I rode one wave in Waikiki Beach and brought it home. It's been hanging up there ever since. And I looked in my pocket, and I said, "You know what? I really would like to buy that." And his wife comes out, and she screams at him, "Sell that damn thing." So I said, "Look, how much do you want for it? Come on, you got to sell me that board." I mean, this thing was a beautiful board. And he said, "I won't take a penny less than $200." I said, "Well, listen, I've got $198 because I just bought something from you for $2." So I bought the board for $198, and I still have it upstairs in my game room, and I was just offered $15,000 for it.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's those things do. Yeah, look, I look at this. I call it junk, but I look at my antiques and my fun stuff that I have, and I look at it. It's better than buying stocks, whether it's cars, antiques. Even some of the reproduction things. If you buy the right ones, and you get it at the right price, and down the road, someone may want it. But I always say buy the best, and you'll always make money with it down the road.
Well, Scott, I know your wife so well and everything. I think it's really you're very fortunate that you have a wife that really supports your habits that way. She loves you to buy all that stuff.
Well, if you ever see her, tell her to come home, will you?
Love to Judy, Scott. Oh, that's hysterical. How's she doing?
They're doing great. My daughter's getting ready for another great year of water polo. She was on an undefeated team last year. I have twins that are freshmen in high school, even though I'm an old fart. My son was a jiu-jitsu state champion last year.
Oh, we just put away. Okay. Okay.
And Russ is about 6'2", 205 pounds already.
How much?
He's about 6'2", 205 with a size 14 shoe.
Well, you were a size 14 in the 9th grade.
Yeah, look at that picture. That's a picture of us. I took the kids up. I don't know who that lady is holding my daughter, but
that's Judy. Okay, go ahead.
That's my beautiful bride of 30 years. I took the family to that's Lake Louise right there in front of the Chateau Lake Louise, one of the most beautiful places in the world. And what's amazing about that photo is 1 mile away from that lake is Lake Moraine, which is on their $20 bill, and nobody knows about it. And it's just as spectacular as that picture right there, and it's a mile away. Everybody goes to Lake Louise. All you have to do is make a left instead of a right, and you go to Lake Moraine. It's just as beautiful. I mean, it is one of the most captivating places I've ever been in my life. The kids, I didn't think the kids would like it, but they actually loved it.
And this was about 5 years ago, right?
This was 5 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. you know, David, Scott is one of those kinds of guys that just will not leave California. Okay. I mean, I've tried to get him out when I was in New York to come out to New York, get him out here to Minneapolis, whatever. He said it's too cold, whatever. When was the last time you were out of California, Scott?
Let's see. Well, first of all, I'm 56 and I've never been to New York.
Right.
And it's sad, I know. That's one of the things. My wife loves to travel, and you know, with business, I'm so busy with business. I love working, and you know, I love working, and I love being involved in all my kids' things. And last time I was out of California was probably Hawaii a couple of years ago. But I don't know. Does that even count?
No, it doesn't count.
Hey, you got a good thing. Why leave? You know, if you're digging it and you're having a good time, why would you go anywhere else?
That's what you know what? I appreciate you saying that, because a lot of people don't get that. And, you know, I read books about all the great arts in the world. I know, like my dad, you know, he had to see the pyramids before he died. When he went to London, he sat in front of the Rosetta Stone because he read about it for so many years. He stared at it for 2 days at that museum in London. And, yes, I want to go see the Rosetta Stone one day, and I want to see the pyramids. I want to go to Italy and eat that food and look at this, you know, the statue of David and go down Venice in one of those boats. But, you know what, I've got a lot of things I still want to do here. And look, at California's beautiful, and I love our beaches, and I'm a simple guy that, you know, goes home every day at 9 o'clock after, you know, getting up at 4. And there's nothing wrong with that either. And as long as I'm happy and my family's healthy, that's all that matters to me. And I'll travel. You know, in another couple of years, we'll start traveling, and we'll take the kids with us. I enjoy taking the kids. And our first trip was going to Lake Louise, and I didn't think they'd like it, but they actually loved it. They loved it more than Hawaii, if you can believe that.
Oh, that's great.
Awesome,
I
Scott.
see you got a cigar. What kind of cigars do you smoke?
Here we go.
Well, you know, it's like golf. You know, they say, what kind of golf ball do you hit? You know, in the old days, it was whatever anybody would hand me. You know, I really like the Cohiba cigars from Cuba, even though you know, they say, you know, you can't get those. You know, I have friends that somehow, I don't know where they get them from, whether it's Switzerland or on the internet, but I have friends that know I like cigars, and they give me boxes from here and there. And I like the Cohiba Robustos. I like a Monte Cristo No. 2. But usually it's a cigar that anybody hands me. I'm not real picky, and I don't smoke them all the time. I would say every time I have a beer in my hand, which is, you know, just on the weekends.
Oh, good deal.
Like that. And you know, I had a customer. This was July 4th that you're looking at, and in Coronado, I had a customer with me that came from Arizona. My kids call him Uncle Dave, and you know, what's nice is to be able to do business with people that your kids call Uncle. And he came down, and you know, if you think I look big in that picture, he comes to the airport, and I looked at him, I said, "Dave, you look great." He goes, "Yeah, I just lost 45 pounds." And, you know, he's 6'5" and 370. So, you know, he made me look small, but the kids just absolutely love him. We had a great time, and, you know, I tried getting him up on water skis one time, and, you know, he came out of the ski boots, and I just kept the thing going. He was skimming across on his belly, and we call it SEAL Team 1, SEAL Team 2, and you know what? Going to San Diego and being on the beach there, having a beer and a cigar, if that's what makes you, you know, you happy, then that's what makes you happy, right?
Scott, I have a picture I want to show. I know, you know, it's a time in your life you can talk about real quickly here, but go ahead, guys. Let's run through those pictures. I'll show you which one. There it is. It's a little crooked, Scott. It was from your Facebook, which I know you don't do too much on Facebook here, but I certainly remember those days. I went with you to a few tournaments. This might have been up in Petaluma, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, that's a picture of me. I was a senior in college, and I'm the one in the stripes on the right side, and that was Vaughn Cartwright, the world champion, that I busted his elbow in that match. The gentleman in the tuxedo with the microphone to the right, his name is Jimmy Payne. He just recently died about a year ago. He was an 8-time lightweight champion, and I believe it was the 1948 or 58 Mr. America. The gentleman, you can see a gentleman leaning down in the front. There's also a gentleman, if you look closely, that's on the other side. You can see his belt buckle. That's Jim Dolcini refereeing the match on the backside. He was my idol. He was the 4-time world champion up in Petaluma. And so when I was coming up through college, playing football, and I was arm wrestling professionally, that was the guy to beat back then. And, luckily I was able to be our national champion. I beat the gentleman that was in the movie Over the Top with Stallone. His name was Rick Zimwalt. In the movie, they called him Bull Hurley, big bald guy with a mustache, and he was 6'8", 500 pounds, and I beat him for our national heavyweight championship. And then I went on and became a world champion at one time. But everybody talks about fish stories, but that's a picture that someone sent to me not too long ago, and it brings back a lot of memories. I don't know if you remember, but there was a store on Ventura Boulevard where I used to buy those drawstring pants, and I think I brought those up to Northern California from Southern California. Everybody said, "What are you wearing? Are those hospital pants?" And you remember the store, don't you, Larry?
I sure do. It was my store. Yeah, I know. I used to. Yeah. Those are New Hero pants with the drawstring pants. I had them in 35 different colors in my clothing store. Absolutely, I sure do.
Yeah, the Italians in San Francisco, they thought I was a panucco, however you call it, but they were in every color. But
well, I'll tell you, Scott, I seem to have forgotten about so much of the stuff you and I used to do. It's starting to come back to me the more we talk. I mean, you realize we're talking about almost 40 years ago, Scott. I'll remember one night, and we're going to get off of this because, David's my special guest tonight, but I'm really glad that you and I reconnected. And, David, you brought me and Scott back together again here.
I'm just wondering when we're all going to go out and get a beer together.
I know. It'd be a lot of fun. And listen, who called in right before you, Scott, was Gallagher.
Don Gallagher, circulating air.
He called in. He called in literally just minutes before you did, just to tell me that the Lakers got Dwight Howard tonight. But in any case, remember the night? I think we were in Encino, you and I don't remember what the name of the place was, but it was in that old Plaza de Oro or something like that, a restaurant. And I think it was a Friday night at about 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. We were having some cocktails, and I said, "Hey, Scott, you feel like going to Vegas?" And you said, "Yeah, when do you want to go?" I said, "Let's go tonight." You remember that?
Yeah, we were on an airplane with a bunch of Asians 20 minutes later.
I said, "Come on, man, we're going to Vegas." And literally within an hour, we drove to the airport. We were on a plane. You couldn't believe it. And we literally were back in L.A. the next morning. We just went and we just gambled all night.
That was those were the days when you could do things like that.
I know.
See. Now I'm starting to wonder if it's Scott not wanting to leave California or he's not allowed to leave California.
No, I think his wife Judy would let him go. She would let him go as long as he leaves the credit cards behind.
That's great.
Here's my question. How many millions of people are actually listening to this show and watching this?
Not that many millions, but why? Why do you want to know?
I was just curious. I mean,
You want to know if we're going to get in trouble?
No. I'm not a computer guy. If you saw what I was looking at right now, my computer is actually turned sideways, and I don't know how to get it turned the other way. So I'm actually, my head's tilted watching you guys.
Well, what you got to do. I know anytime you need computer stuff, you call your son in to get you going, don't you?
Yeah, but he said he had to get out of the elevator, hurry up and call me back. I said, "I don't have time. I've got to call a friend of mine and talk to some guys." And he says, "How are you going to do that?" I said, "I have no idea. I'm just going to turn the computer on, turn my head sideways, and here I am. And there you can look at that."
Yeah, one of the best New Year's Eve I ever had was with you and Judy. When with my second ex-wife and you and Judy, we flew up to San Francisco, and that was really one of the great New Year's Eves of my lifetime. I remember that. We had a great time that night.
Well, that was a very famous place, which is still there. It's Bimbo's 365 Club.
Yeah, that was a blast, man.
Yeah, I you know what? In my place in Coronado, Larry, I have a book that has all those pictures in it because it means that much to me.
And you remember what a cut-up my ex-wife was?
I would love to have seen her and Rickles on the same stage.
Oh my God. Yeah, my ex-wife was a New Yorker, and boy, could she could cut them up and put them down and chew them up and spit them out. Boy, she was hysterical.
She was. Hey, I have to ask your guest a question. So you have a DeLorean that I saw in one of the pictures, and I saw a Porsche. Did I also see a 32 in there?
A 34 Chevy, yep.
A 34 Chevy, okay.
Yep.
And what other cars do you have?
I've had 7 Porsches. I've had a little bit of everything. I enjoy cars. Dad and I have a big collection. Some of his new ones. He has a new Mercedes SLS Gullwing, an Aston Martin. He has the Prowler. Actually, funny story. He traded in. He had a Viper, a 2001 Viper RT10, and just traded it in on a Nissan Leaf. So that's kind of been the ongoing joke in the family that he's going green. So, but I like everything. I had a Miata. My first car was a Mazda Miata, and I ended up buying a Miata and put a big supercharger in it, and roll bar, and bucket seats and coilover suspension, and had a blast with that little thing. Used to give Z06s a run for their money. I don't discriminate. I like all cars. It's just, it's really more about how the car makes me feel. And, I've had a little bit of everything. Porsches, I had a 912, 66 912. I've had 2 Cayennes. One was an S, one was a twin turbo. I had a 997 twin turbo. I had 2 Boxster S's. I had a 76 911S, 71 911S. Actually, there's a 71 911E. S-spec motor in it, but I like them all, so I don't discriminate when it comes to cars. That's for sure.
We're having the Hot August Nights out here. Have you ever been to the Hot August Nights out in Reno?
I have not. My wife and I are, hopefully soon here in the next year, we'll be moving out to Bend, Oregon. So I'm hoping to hit up a lot more of the shows out that way. So, I grew up in Seattle, and I miss the West Coast dearly. So,
yeah. But I'm not a big Porsche guy. I think they're beautiful cars, but I do think the new Porsche that's out there, the 4-door, has really brought some styling into that car. That I think it's one of the most beautiful cars on the road right now.
Yeah, the Panamera.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. I had the joy of sitting in the back of that car at about 120 miles an hour, and that back seat gets uncomfortable pretty quick. But it's a great car. It is beautiful. And, Lamborghini's catching on to that. Aston Martin has the Rapide, which is the 4-door, and a lot of these high-end manufacturers are starting to get the point that you can have the European styling and speed, but in a 4-door. It's a neat look.
Yeah, my dad was a very good anesthesiologist back in his day, and his brother was a surgeon. They were kind of famous. They did the first open heart surgeries back in Los Angeles, years ago. And one of the things that my great dad did, besides he loved the outdoors. He loved hunting. Even though he never took me, I don't know why. But he loved traveling and everything, but he loved cars. My father absolutely loved cars, and that's probably why I love cars and antiques so much, because my dad collected. He had an XK120 Jag, and he got rid of that. He always wanted a Gullwing. He wanted the same one that Clark Gable had, that silver one, and he ended up getting one of those, got rid of it. Thanks, Dad. He got rid of the Gullwing and ended up, after the XK120, he had the Gullwing, and then he had the 58 T-Bird, the Square Bird.
Yep.
And then he moved up. After that, everything he got out of the collecting them and started getting Cadillacs every year, leasing Cadillacs every year. And as he got older, he started doing it again. He got a Rolls Royce, special Rolls, a Silver Shadow, Larry, that I'm sure you remember.
I certainly do. I remember your mother used to drive that Rolls Royce, didn't she?
She tried to, yeah.
I remember it.
Sounds like our
And,
dads. It sounds like our dads had a lot in common. You're naming a lot of cars. You know, we had a silver Spur Rolls Royce. You had a '57 T-Bird. It seems like our dads had a lot in common.
Well, you know, there's guys that either love cars or they don't. And listen, I still have dreams, Larry, about my Ford van that I had.
Oh, I remember that van. Absolutely. That it was yellow.
It was yellow, school bus yellow. And
Yeah.
I took that everywhere. I'd go to the beach and sleep at the beach and get up early and surf and then go back to school. And
Yeah.
Was that a
when I
Ford?
moved up to Northern,
Was that the Econo line?
what's that?
Was that the Ford Econo line?
That was a Ford Econoline 100, 3 on the tree.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And let me tell you something, and this is for all the young listeners out there, okay? When I moved up to Northern California, I didn't have a dime. I graduated from college, came home, and I was touring the country arm wrestling professionally, and I came home and walked in the door. My dad said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "What do you mean, what am I doing?" He says, "What, are you going to wash your clothes and leave?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "It's a mean-ass world out there, son. Good luck." And, you know, he looked at me, and when you're 6'2", 310 pounds, your folks don't want to feed you anymore after college.
Your dad was bigger than you are, Scott.
Yeah, my dad was a big boy.
I know.
You know, he played ball at Alabama in '46 when they beat SC in the Rose Bowl. But anyway, so you know, when I moved up to Northern California, and I want for all your young listeners out there, Larry, this is important. I didn't have much in my pocket, and I lived out of my van for 3 weeks until I got myself enough money to where I could move into a little motel, and then finally move into a 1-bedroom apartment for $200 a month. And you know what? Yes, I had a college education, but there's nothing like hard work. And you know, my dad taught me that you know what, your parents love you, but go out there and earn it. And I'm glad my dad did that to me, because it's made me the man I am today. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of what my wife has done. I'm proud of my kids, and you know, I have a legacy now where you know my kids can grow and stand on that, just like the young man that we're talking to right now with his father, and passing down the tradition to his son.
Absolutely. Do you have any kids, David?
6-month-old son.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yep.
You're just getting rolling. You're just getting started.
Yep. Yeah.
Does he go by the name of Lucky?
What's that?
Does he go by the name of Lucky?
Actually, his name's Harrison. So obviously everyone thought it was for Harrison Ford, but my wife's maiden name is Harris. So we decided to kind of continue the theme. They only had girls on that side, so.
Hey, Scott.
Yeah,
Well, congratulations. There's nothing like your first kid.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're probably going to have more. And listen, I remember going and seeing Larry when he had a beautiful little girl. And Larry, how old is she now? Is she 27?
No, my baby's 31, Scott. And, you mentioned that there was something going on in Reno. She's actually in Reno right now. She's on a 10-day vacation with her boyfriend, and they're doing a road trip, L.A. to Reno to Boise, Idaho, to Salt Lake City, and then to Vegas, and then back to L.A. She took the time off, and I just talked to her on the road yesterday, and I know she's up in Reno right now. But she'll be 32.
She doesn't have a gambling problem, does she?
I'm sorry?
She doesn't have a gambling problem, does she?
Come on, Scott. You remember my little baby. That's not... no, Phyllis is a very hard worker. She's a manager for the Gap, and she's been with Gap for a long time, and she's a hard-working person. But she's...
I remember going to your place and holding her for the first time.
Yeah.
And then your first wife would feed us the beautiful steaks that she would make me every time I'd come over with that great salad. I never wanted to leave your place.
Yeah.
But you were one of my first friends that had a kid, and look, I'm 56 and my kids are 15, and you're a year older than me, Larry.
Yeah.
And even though I look about 20 years younger, and
Scott, if I could just lose the weight, man, I could fool a lot of people. I'm telling you what, I could look like I'm 40 again if I could lose about 60 pounds.
You know what? It's the Scorsese glasses that are throwing you off. Yeah. The Scorsese glasses.
let me tell you something. Though your daughter was just very special, and I loved her dearly.
Yep.
And but people don't know this probably about you, Larry. And Larry started a professional softball league at one time, and I believe that Coca-Cola is one of the sponsors. Larry is one of the best softball players I've ever played with. Had an arm that could throw from 300 feet out on a direct bullet to home plate.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we had a lot of fun playing that semi-pro. I guess you call it semi-pro softball. And as long as I was batting cleanup, I think we did okay.
Yeah, you were one of those mashers that could hit the ball over the fence. You know, I kind of placed it around a little bit. But, you know, boy, you're bringing back some memories, Scott. I remember once I almost got in a fight with about 10 guys because of you. Do you remember that one?
I believe, yeah, we were
you had
in North Hollywood.
you had that brace on your knee. I don't know if you just recently had a surgery or what. And we were playing in a tournament, a USSSA tournament, and I think it might have been in the Valley. We traveled all over, but that might have been a local one if I remember, maybe Sun Valley or something like that. And because of your knee, you had that big brace on, but you were still a masher. We had to get permission by the USSSA rules from the other team that would allow a designated runner. And they could say no or yes. And if they said yes, then we had to allow them to have a designated runner. And if you remember, before the game started, they said no. You remember that?
You came out of the dugout. The sad thing is, Larry, I think those were a bunch of firemen that we were playing, and you wanted to kill them all.
They were big. They were big dudes, man. And I went out there. I undressed those guys, and I thought we were going to be throwing down before the game even started. And I came back and I said, "All right, boys, you know they're going to play like that." So you had to run for yourself. But if I remember correctly, I think we hammered them pretty good.
Well, it's easy to run for yourself when you hit 5 over the fence when we won 19-2.
Well, that was your thing. You were batting fourth. I mean, that was your job. Just, we get on base and you clean them up.
Yeah.
Listen, I've spent so much time with you. I feel guilty a little bit here, but, you were also a long ball hitting champion. I remember, of course, you belonged to the most exclusive country club, in all of L.A., El Caballero. And from the time you were a little kid, you kind of grew up on the golf course. And, of course, you're this, big, strong guy and everything. You used to go into professional long ball contests. Tell us a little bit quickly about your longest hit and drive and everything.
Well, first of all, I'll tell you about the time Amy Alcott beat my pants off at El Caballero Country Club my senior year in high school. She was something. But I had a goal. I wanted to be the national long drive champion and the world arm wrestling champion. And, I won the arm wrestling part, and then I qualified for the regional, and I went to the next level up. And you guys still there?
Yeah, we're right here.
Okay. So I won the first two, the regional, and then the next one I won. And then when I got to, I think, the quarterfinals, and I was just using a regular driver, I hit 350. I had 5 out of 6 shots in the grid. My longest was 356 or 362, and I only lost by 40 yards.
That's a lot.
Wow.
It's a lot. These guys were using 7-degree clubs that were a foot longer than mine, and it's a real art. And I really, really appreciated what these guys were doing. But look, I had fun doing it. But my golfing days, everybody. It doesn't matter how big you are. It's how are those hands, and can you get that club square through those 8 inches, and that's all it is. And I used to look at a lot of my friends, Ben Burke, who's an attorney up in San Francisco that you know really well.
I do.
I remember I'd come out and have my bag, and I'm walking up, to go take the bus back home. Ben would come over and say, "What are you doing? Your old man's inside playing cards." He called me to go get his car, and my dad would drive me home. But you guys were parking cars for my dad there, and I was
That's
out
true.
It's
true. Ben and I, of course, we're very close friends, but we worked at El Cab parking cars, and so as an employee, we could play on Mondays. Remember that? And we used to play there as employees on Mondays, and of course, you as our friend, you were a member. But there's some great stories about old El Cab. Is it still there?
It's not only is it still there. Amy Alcott, once in a while, had the tournament there. And let me tell you an interesting story. You know, my mother wasn't an athlete. She was that beauty queen that, lived in her castle. And, I used to play golf so much, I'd go down and hit balls for 4 hours and play 36 holes, every day in the summer. And I remember asking this white-haired, dark-skinned lady, her name was Mrs. Knight, who was the club champion. I said, how would you like to play in the mother-son tournament? And she said, I'll see if we can do it. So I was able to play with her. I think we won it 8 years straight. That lady, I believe up until 4 or 5 years ago, was still the reigning champion at that club.
Wow.
I think she was like 50 years she was the reigning women's champion at El Caballero. El Caballero, I believe, had the 1927 LA Open, and back then the 18th hole was a par 3, and it's been changed so many times. But it is. I've played a lot of golf in my time. I play all these courses up in the Monterey area, and I've got to tell you, it's still one of my favorite golf courses. It's still very tough and demanding, and there was nothing like, going to El Cap on a hot summer day and playing and making the turn and having an Arnold Palmer at the turn and a couple of sandwiches and putting it on my dad's tab.
Yeah, we used to put a lot of stuff on your dad's tab. But, before I let you go, Scott, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you so much. And listen, once you get off the show, watch for the next few minutes, too, because what we haven't got into yet is David is the estate manager for his father's estate in what is it, Cardinal, Virginia? Mm-hmm. And it's called Sweetwater Estate. Scott, I'm telling you now, if I could ever convince you to leave California, I would try my best to persuade you, although I think it might be sold. They've dropped the price from 7.9 to 5.9, and Scott, it's worth double the price. It's a steal. It's like 198 acres. It's gorgeous. I mean, it's just incredible. A mile of shoreline. Just watch the show for a few minutes after you get off, because we're going to show a little bit of that.
That sounds great. And Dave, it was really nice talking to you, and if you ever get out this way, Larry has my number, and give me a call. We will have that Coors Light together.
Yeah. Now, before I let you off the phone, listen, you could say no if you want, but I'm going to ask. You know me, Scott. I'm not going to let you go without asking. Can you give me just a few bars?
A few bars of what?
Come on, man. Scott,
Really?
you know what I'm talking about. Scott is like a world-class singer. Come on.
What do you want to hear?
I don't care. How about San Francisco?
San Francisco, come on. All right, how about the loveliness of Parris? Hey, that's me. Seems somehow sadly gay. The glory that was Rome is of another day. I've been terribly alone and forgotten in Manhattan. I'm going home to my city by the bay. I left my heart in San Francisco. High on a hill, it calls to me to be where little cable cars climb halfway to the stars. The morning fog makes chill the air. I don't care, my love waits there in San Francisco, above the blue and windy sea. When I come home to you, my San Francisco, your golden sun will shine for me. Okay, that's all you get.
How can I follow that?
Thank you, Scotty. I think, I don't know if it's losing a little something or maybe it's over the telephone or whatever, but I remember we set up and start collecting money,
Well, how about that? It's 102 out here today, and I've been up since 3:45.
All right.
And,
Peace. All right, man.
I'm
Thanks,
excited
Scott.
to see I'm excited to see this piece of property, and if you can promise me that if I buy it, you can get rid of all that humidity, I'll pay you top dollar.
All right, man. All right, listen, love to Judy, okay?
All right, be good, guys.
All right,
Take
peace.
care.
Thanks, Scott.
Oh,
Thank you.
man. You see what you did, David? You got me kind of reunited with an old friend, you know.
Hey, I feel like I was there with you guys, in the parking lot that night now, you know?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. A lot of, I'm sure, you have childhood friends you grew up with and everything.
Oh, yeah. I got one particular, Jared and another buddy named Larry. We got the same thing, just stories after stories. And, it's funny, Jared actually lives in Bend, Oregon. I haven't really seen him since '94. And we got together, and his parents lived there, and my parents live there now. And we were sitting out by the bonfire one night, and Jared and I started talking about the things we did when we were kids. And this was, 20, 25 years ago. And both sets of parents, his and mine, started getting really pissed off listening to all the stories. And, I guess we ended up getting away with a lot more than we thought we were getting away with. But it was funny. All that time had passed, and the parents were still giving each other dirty looks, and I still heard a lecture that night.
Wow.
It's kind of funny. So
and I don't know if you could still do more recently today the kind of things you could get away with in the times when we were growing up. Nowadays it seems like it might be a little more difficult with all the instant communications and everything.
Yeah, you got that right.
I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. Maddie, do you have a quick break lined up? Yeah. All right, here's what we'll do. We'll take a quick break, 1 minute. When we come back, we're going to look a little bit of Sweetwater Estate. Don't go away.
Chill with Larry Megan.
ZuluTimeZone.com is the first and only authorized dealer for Offshore Limited in the United States. ZuluTimeZone.com is proud to support Chillin' with Larry Megan and Acorn TV. Use the discount coupon code DAD to receive an additional $20 off per item. ZuluTimeZone.com digs Chillin' with Larry Megan.
Chill with Larry Megan.
All right, guys, we're back. We're chatting with a good friend now, David Dzuirzynski, and we're talking about garages and cars and a whole bunch of other things. My friend Scott called in and made it kind of fun. But, you see David's, beautiful garage and the cars and everything, and there's a lot of money there, and you can see it. And so I said, well, David, what do you do? I mean, that's the first thing I thought of. And he's managing this massive estate. It's awesome. And I went online and took a look. And David, I want you to kind of lead us through some of these pictures. Can you see this okay?
Oh, yeah, I can see it crystal clear. So the deal here, parents bought the estate in 1999 and fell in love with it. It's 200 acres on the water in Matthews, Virginia. The house there was built in the 30s and had been run down, so they bulldozed the house and built the property, built the house. There's about 7 outbuildings, and it's just a beautiful piece of property. My wife and I got married there, and it's just absolutely, it's a little slice of heaven, and it's not sold yet, and it's still on the market, and it's the most wonderful place in Virginia. I really do believe that.
Now, how many acres are we looking at here?
Right here, you're looking, in that photo, just in general.
In general, the total
198 acres.
198.
Yep.
Okay, and it's all wooded, and it's got the or most of it's wooded, but the landscaping is gorgeous. I mean, you can't be taking care of all that landscaping.
No, we have a crew that comes out and does that. There's about about 10 guys that come out for about 2 hours and take care of it. About 30 to 40 acres of the property is landscaped. The rest of it's all natural.
Wow.
So I was working in the automotive industry and did not care for my boss, did not care for the place I was working, and went back to school, got a history and psychology major from Virginia Wesleyan, and couple days before my hire date, the Williamsburg had laid off a third of their employees and wasn't able to work for them. My dad said, "Hey, we just lost our estate manager." He said, "Why don't you come here and help me out?" And let me tell you, it was great working with him and being with Dad every day. And he's no slouch. I don't get away with a lot. He's he's a hard worker and wanted me to work hard. And we had a lot of fun working together. That was for sure. So now I take care of the estate for them, and it's fun.
Mm-hmm. All right, now this view that we're looking at right here? What now? This is what? I mean, we're coming along the guest house here, or what?
Yeah, that's the main house on the right, and then the pond is between the main house and the guest house, and to the left there is a guest house. It's fully furnished. It's probably I don't know the size of it. I'm thinking 100 square foot, two-story garage, or garage. I'm on the garage on the mind. 2-story guest house. That's the entryway there. All tiled. Miller Construction had built that staircase right in house. Everything is custom built. It's quite the place to come to work every day. That's for sure.
This is the dining room here. Now, I love the archways you've got all throughout too.
Yep. And everyone always asks, I didn't grow up like this. My dad was, we grew up in a house that was, 1,200 square feet. And, my dad believes in doing it yourself and making your own way. A lot of what Scott said, rang true with my dad too,
Yeah.
My favorite stories, we were buying DVDs one day. My dad, had a theater room here at Sweetwater, and we were at Best Buy. He had to have had, $1,000 in DVDs in the shopping cart. And I remember I had 1989 Batman with Michael Keaton in my hand. My dad says, throw it in the cart. So I'm thinking, all right, he's going to hook me up with Batman. And I threw it in the cart, and we got to the register, and we were checking out, and he rang up, and he sat there just looking at me. And I looked back at him, and my Batman's still sitting in the shopping cart. And, he's like, "You going to buy the movie? We got to go." So, just the kind of, guy he is. He believes in hard work and doing it yourself. And
cool.
I hope to instill that in Harrison for sure.
Now, you said that you and your wife got married there. Did you guys like rent the home out for events and weddings and things like that, or?
No, they would do, we had a family reunion there, and we had parties. They would, have small events my parents would do there. But my wedding was the only big event there like that. We had caterers and the, I don't know if you have a picture, I'm sure it'll come up, of the garage with the cars, but that's actually where our reception was, in the hangar. And it was a lot of fun.
I love this kitchen too.
Yeah, the kitchen's no joke. It's got double wolf ranges, or double wolf ovens, I should say. It's got a Lorcano range, all sub-zero, freezer drawers, warming drawers, crisper drawers.
3 sinks.
Yeah, 3 sinks. It's
I've been looking.
Yeah. Hey, we'll give you a great deal, Larry.
Okay.
It's really a spectacular property, and they have just gone, all out on it, and it's a blast.
All right, let's keep rolling through here.
Sure.
Here's again another shot of the kitchen. Love the pots and pans hanging from the ceilings. I noticed it looks like the microwave is below the counter, right?
Yeah, the microwave is below the counter, and then that's a warming drawer underneath the microwave. And those are all local gentlemen. All the cabinets custom built, and the kitchen's quite the work of art for sure.
Yeah, and what blew me away is the kitchen, as great as it is with that unbelievable island you've got there. You've also got a pantry that is just like a separate pantry that's outrageous. Now, what is this room here?
That's the kitchen. That's
No, this one here. This is not the kitchen.
Oh, sorry. My computer might be a little slow.
Yeah, we got a delay.
Okay. What's it look like? You can describe.
Well, it's got a domed ceiling. It's got a fireplace.
Oh, that's the kitchen.
That's the kitchen?
Oh yeah, that's if you go back one shot, that was showing. That's actually sitting almost where that room is. That's all the kitchen, and that's the kitchen table. The kitchen table has its own fireplace, and it has its own little.
All right, I stand corrected then. That's the other side of the kitchen.
That is the kitchen. Yeah, that's where we have. It was great when I was working for my family. I'd have breakfast there with them every day, and it's nothing like having breakfast with the family and talking every morning before I go out and do the work. There's the pantry.
Okay. Now the pantry, that must be just off the kitchen, right?
Yes, it's connected to the kitchen. And the idea behind the pantry was if you have a catered event, the caterer could pull the vehicle up to the back of the house and have its own entry into that way. And there's a dishwasher and a fridge in there, but you can go in there and set up and then bring the food into the kitchen from that room, which was nice.
Okay. Let's see here. This is still the pantry.
Yeah, actually, that's right before you go to the kitchen. That's the wet bar right before the kitchen.
Okay.
If you go to the left there, you walk into the kitchen.
All right. I imagine you've showed the house a few times, huh?
Yeah, I'm the home is for sale, and I was there when it was being built, so I know a lot about it, and I've walked through every showing. That right there is a collection. That's my dad's collection. He's a guitar junkie and autograph memorabilia junkie.
That pool table looks like it's kind of a special pool table too.
Yep, and that stays with the house. And my dad was in a band in high school, and he had a band later on, and it was a bunch of retired doctors and all kinds of people who were in the biotech industry, and they would do a gig for $800 and get so excited about the gig. We made $800, and then they'd use 400 of it on drinks. They had a good time, but he's really into guitars, and he got me into single malt scotch. My dad and I really enjoy, sitting down having a glass of scotch. That's the bar there at Sweetwater.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love the fact that you have a stage. I mean, with where the guitars are, you can have a group or a band in there, and you can have a performance stage right there in the house.
Oh yeah, and there were many times where we'd have people come over and they get on the stage and jam out. So
now, is all that stuff still in the house, or has it all been moved out?
The dining room table, everything in the guest house. Trying to think of what else.
Like all those guitars aren't there.
Oh, no. Yeah, all that stuff's out in Oregon. But a lot of the stuff, a lot of the furniture was custom built for that home, so they wanted to, leave as much as they could. It's hard to bring a table that was made for that home somewhere else. So a lot of the furniture conveys with the sale of the home.
Mm-hmm. Now, this has, I think, 5 bedrooms. Is this the master bedroom right here?
It's the master, yep.
And it's all these bedrooms, they have like views right on the water, right?
Yeah, they all have a view of the water. That's still the master.
And that's the Atlantic Ocean right there.
That's actually the North River. That opens up into Mob Jack Bay, which opens up into the Chesapeake Bay.
Okay. So it's a little calmer than the ocean.
Oh, yeah. And it's considered brackish water, so it's not, you don't have the full salt eating away at everything. It's a nice piece of property.
Okay. And this is the master bath? It
is, a steam shower, and I think it's 14 karat gold fixtures in there. I could be wrong now.
Mm-hmm. I notice here, this one, you got dual shower heads.
Yeah, that's nice. It makes you feel like you just, I grew up in Seattle, so it kind of brings me back home, feel like you're getting rained on there.
Okay. Let's see what we got here. Now, what is it? This is what, a study or?
Yeah, that's his. That was my dad's office.
Okay.
And that was the indoor office. That's where he did a lot of work, and we played chess in there, and just have a good time there. So it was a good place to get away.
Okay.
And that's still his office. That's just a little bit deeper in.
Got that curved stairway on the entryway.
Yep.
This is the loft upstairs. Now, this is your theater room.
Yep. That was our theater room. I think it was a 101-inch screen, seating for 8, and it had a Runco DLP projector, which was, the picture is absolutely amazing on that. So there were a few days where it was too cold or too warm to work at Sweetwater, and we ended up with a scotch up in the theater room, watching a movie. So a lot of good times there.
Yeah, one of your guest bedrooms. I guess you got 5 different bedrooms total, but 4 different. We can roll through some of these bedroom pictures, Maddie.
But whenever anybody stayed, they wanted to stay in the guest house. Had their own washer and dryer, and
I think we got some pictures of the guest house, don't we, guys? No. This is still one of the bedrooms in the. You have names for these bedrooms, don't you?
Yeah, we called that the black bedroom because the bathroom that connects to that, there it is there, is all black and gold. And we had another one called the oak bedroom because all the furniture in there was oak. We had another one that was the...
it's the attic, it looks like.
Yeah, that's the attic upstairs. That's a cupola. It's a functioning building, or functioning piece of the property. There's a ladder that goes up, and you have a 360-degree view of the property from up there. Great place to smoke a cigar, read a book.
Wow.
Yeah,
nice.
It's absolutely beautiful.
And here we are in the back, I guess.
Yep. It's the back or the front, depending on where you're coming from. So.
Mm-hmm. You didn't know I was going to have all these pictures. Look at this. Now, is that the back of the house?
That is, yep.
Okay, from the water looking in.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm shocked that this thing hasn't gone just like that. You would think.
Honestly, the value is absolutely amazing. That there's so much there. There's so much. Just for the property with the water. Properties get harder to find, and having the place custom built. And
now I know you take great pride in this part of the home right here.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite areas.
That's the koi pond, right?
Yep. There's koi pond, and I helped my dad kind of design what we wanted there. And you can stand out in those rocks and feed the fish, and they'll eat right out of your hand.
Wow. Now, what do you do in the winter? Can they survive out there?
Yeah, it freezes right over, and their koi are a variant of carp, and they survive right on the bottom. And top freezes over, just keep one of the waterfalls going, and.
Now, this is the guest house, right?
Yes. Yep. And that's fully furnished just like that. Yeah,
And you've got, I think 2 or 3 bedrooms there, too.
Two bedrooms and a bath and a bunch of pull-out couches. Again, all custom cabinetry. The floors in there from the last photo are actually from Gimbel's department store in New York City, the original Gimbel's. The builder was able to get his hands on some materials, and the flooring in the kitchen is all from Gimbel's department store, so it's kind of neat.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. All right, let's see what we got here. And I know that there's also a pool house, too, coming up, I think.
Yep. That's upstairs in the guest house. We got air hockey back there.
Out on the premises. You got a well there?
Yeah. They just covered it with a real, a fake-looking well just to make it look, give it a unique look.
Here we go. Now, this is a pretty big building itself.
Yeah. It's a pretty big building. They were trying to decide between an indoor and an outdoor pool house, and with this building, you can slide all the doors open. You got the best of both worlds.
I would think some rock star or something like that would want a place like this. You
never know. It's as you can see, it's unlike anything I've ever seen.
Yeah, and now Cardinal, Virginia. How close is that? Let's say to, Washington D.C.
It depends on who's driving, Larry.
Well, okay. How about in miles then?
Honestly, it's probably about a 3-hour drive.
Okay, so even though it's in Virginia, it's probably closer to North Carolina than it is D.C.
Yeah, we're Southeast Virginia. We're about an hour from Richmond.
Okay. Wow, nice. Now here,
that building there is The gentleman who owned the property before my parents was a Palmolive Colgate heir, and he had a seaplane, and he'd fly to Philadelphia, a couple times a month. And my dad decided to start collecting cars at that point. We basically put UV windows in there, and I helped him design. This was the garage that him and I, put together, and all of our ideas. And
that was an airplane hangar you turned into a garage.
Yep. Yeah, it was it had the raggedy old, swing open doors on it, and there were animals living in there and owls, and, it was rough. And we had the whole place gutted, and Dad and I started collecting cars.
Wow. That is awesome. I love the murals that you put on there.
Yeah, they were all hand painted from a gentleman, another local gentleman, and he had done all the murals, and it's fun out there.
Now, is this your boat too? You got a dock for the boat?
Yeah, yep. The boat is a 47-foot Nordhaven. It's actually 51, and it's a circumnavigator. You can go 3,200 miles on a tank of fuel, and it's a lot. Just get out there and just enjoy the Chesapeake Bay.
Now, the boat doesn't come included in the price.
No, it doesn't. That's for sale separately.
Oh, it is. Okay. Although the person who buys the house may want to have that boat unless they've got their own.
I'm sure they could work out a package deal for you.
I'm telling you, man, I'd love to just, chuck it all and do it. The problem is, even if you had $6 million, you probably need another, 6 to 10 more behind it, to basically live that lifestyle.
Actually, my parents, one of their thoughts when they bought the house was, low maintenance. They all, the heating in the house is all geothermal. The property is pretty low maintenance, with only having, 30, 40 acres of manicured, there's not a lot to worry about. The house is pretty low maintenance. I basically look over the place, make sure things are okay. But that you'd actually be pretty surprised. It's not as high maintenance as you think it would be.
Now, what is this?
That is an outer office.
An office, outside office on the premises. So would that be kind of like where the estate manager like yourself would pretty much sit and go, or?
I actually have a small office in the hangar.
Oh, where the cars are. Okay.
Yep.
Now that little golf cart that was right there, was that does that come with the property too?
I don't even know which one. Was it orange or green?
It looked like it was green.
Yeah, the green one does not come, but there's a Kubota RTV 1100 diesel that comes with the property.
But not this one. This is a golf cart, it looks like.
Yeah, it was a 6-person golf cart. We got rid of that one.
Oh, okay. That would be nice for hopping around on the property.
Well, you haven't seen the Kubota. That's a lot more fun than that.
Do we have a picture of that or no?
I don't think so.
I lifted these off of a realtor's website. I know you I had the link to the video, but I thought it would be better to just scroll through the pictures than watch the video. Mm-hmm. But here's a nice sunset shot coming on the backside.
Every night the sunset is amazing like that. Every single night.
And then here's a nice shot of the house at nighttime. I mean, does your dad miss the house? He was living in it, right?
Dearly, yeah. He was traveling to Seattle for work, and it was tough for them to travel back and forth, so they decided to be a little bit closer. But the property is I keep saying it's amazing, and they miss it, and they miss being close to us.
Yeah. Well, that pretty much takes us through all of them. But now, what's going to happen once you finally do sell it? Does that mean you're out of a job?
I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, that your job is to take care of this property.
Yeah. We'll probably end up moving out to Oregon, and
okay.
We'll see what happens. But I have a 6-month-old son, and my wife's a teacher, so I might play Mr. Mom for a while. I enjoy hanging out with him, and he's the greatest thing that ever happened to me. So. Well,
that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, we really enjoy being together. I bring him to work with me every day, and it's a blast. It really is a blessing.
These cars that you buy, or these different things that you buy that are collectibles, I assume that, someday, just like, Scott was saying, he wanted to pass along those things to his kids. particularly maybe his son, and his son just had no interest in the things. I imagine you want to pass on to your son, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Particularly the DeLorean and the Hot Rod, just because my dad and I have had so many good memories with those two cars together. I want to give those to Harrison, and it's funny. Cindy was talking. My wife Cindy and I were talking the other day.
We have a picture of you and Cindy, guys. Can you find that wedding picture of theirs?
It's funny. Cindy said Harrison's going to grow up into a world where he thinks the Goldwing doors in the DeLorean are normal. So it's kind of funny, he's going to grow up, we want him to grow up not thinking differently and,
right.
But,
well,
yes.
Does your wife Cindy support all this, car collecting and all the collecting you do? Is she good about that stuff?
She's pretty good. I'm a pretty lucky guy. We get along great. She's all about saving, and I'm all about spending, and
women are into security and guys are into risk, but in general.
Yeah.
That's why it's so rare when you can find a woman that's into risk,
Yeah, yeah. And she's big into, planning. She's a list maker. She's an A-type personality. I'm ADD, all out and crazy.
Yeah, you got to watch out for those list makers. I once had a girlfriend like that. We're still friends, though.
That's good.
But she was famous for her lists as well as her back stairwell trysts. But anyway, okay. So just an incredible story with you, David. I mean, the garage, the cars, everything. I thank you so much for being on the show, but I'm not going to let you go just yet. We got a few minutes left here. And one of the questions that I had Stacia, go over with you was, one of the things we like to do here and by the way, as we're winding things down here, I'd like to see if anybody's still watching the show. I mean, I still see we do have an audience out there. Believe me, they're out there. Feel free to call in if you have a question, because we are giving away those 2 tickets, for the best, contribution of the night. So, please feel free to call in now. The line is open. I know when Scott was on the line, the way our system is here, David, is that once the Skype line is taken up, we don't have a queue where other people can call in. So that tied it up and, we couldn't get other calls. But right now the line is open. If anybody wants to call in, we'd love to have your call. In any case, one of the things we do here at Acorn TV is we like to feature, and this is what you're going to win. You could possibly win a couple of AMC movie tickets, a $24 value, so please give us a call. Is we like to feature some old classic movies. Some nights when we don't have a guest, we'll do a classic film zone where we take an hour and a half and just go into all different scenes of a movie. And other nights like tonight when we have a great guest like yourself, David, I still like to show maybe 1 clip or 2 clips. And one of the questions was on the preliminary interview was, do you have any favorite, old classic movies? And, you gave us some nice ones there. As far as, movies and everything. But the one that I chose, you gave us a couple, On the Beach, American Graffiti, and Some Like It Hot. And American Graffiti probably would have been a perfect choice for what we were doing tonight, but I just don't have that movie in my library. I've got about 600 DVDs, but I don't have that one. So you also picked Some Like It Hot, and I think that movie's hysterical, and we've never featured it here. We're not going to get too deep into it, but we're going to have a real abbreviated session here of the classic film zone. Well, tonight we're going to, again, just take a little peek at a couple of clips from a movie that was selected by our guest tonight, David Dzuirzynski. And am I saying your name right, David?
It's close enough.
Okay, well, tell us, how do we pronounce your name?
It's Dziurzynski.
Oh, like a J. That
like
DZ.
A J, like a J-E-R, Dziurzynski.
Dziurzynski. Okay, thank you. All right, David Dziurzynski. I wish I would have known that. In any case, he picked... Some Like It Hot, 1959, Marilyn Monroe, of course, Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon. And it's kind of a screwball comedy, let's face it. But, I mean, it really is a hysterical movie throughout, and so it's hard to just pick one or two scenes from this because there's so many. But I did pick out at least a couple, and I thought one of them. And here, the premise of the movie is this: it was back in the era of Prohibition, 1929, and where you have these kind of gangsters that they make illegal booze, and they have to have little speakeasies where people come in and they can get booze illegally and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, there's two musicians played by Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis, and what they do is they're playing in one of these speakeasy places, and the place gets raided by the cops, and they end up actually witnessing a murder, or several murders actually, and now these gangsters are looking for these two musicians, a bass player and a guys. You guys got this under control over there? Little technical difficulty. Okay. Well, listen. So they're looking for two male musicians, a bass player and a sax player. They end up getting a gig in an all-girl band, and they take a train down to Florida, trying to run away from these gangsters in Chicago, and they're on the they're on the run and hiding in a girls' band. And of course, the singer in the band is Marilyn Monroe, and of course they're guys, so they're hiding as women. But, they both have a thing for Marilyn Monroe. So they actually meet Sugar. She's the lead singer. She's Marilyn Monroe. And, Maddie, are we going to be able to show this clip? No? You trying to work it out? Yeah, we might have to. All right. It looks like we're not going to be able to do the clips, which is, huh? We might have to. Reboot? All right, you know what? We're probably going to have to reboot. We're going to skip the Classic Film Zone, guys. We have some technical difficulties. Sorry about that, David.
Oh, it's okay.
But it is a great movie, and maybe we'll feature it next week, on the show.
Yeah, the thing I like about the movie is it was so far ahead of its time. There were so many, some of the outfits Sugar wears are just so, so risque, and the idea and the idea behind the movie, just, these cross-dressing guys just so outlandish for the year. And I remember watching it with my grandpa, and he just laughed so hard. He had obviously seen it 100 times before, but every time I see it, it makes me think of him. So just a great classic movie.
All right, what we're going to do, I thank you for picking that one. And like I said, we're going to have to feature it next week. What we're going to do, David, is I'm going to say goodbye to you now, because of what we're going to do is have to reboot the system, and I'll come back and I'll just wrap up the show. And we'll announce the winner there. I could have you hang on or whatever, but I can see the whole system is frozen up here. Okay. So we're going to have to do that. And I want to thank you so much, David, for being a part of the show tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me. And,
absolutely.
Whenever you and Scott want to get together, just let me know and I'll be there.
I'd love to come out and just hang with you. It'd be a lot of fun, and we've got to try and make that happen. And, if you're ever in Minneapolis, you got to reach out to me too.
Definitely. And thank you for listening, and thank you for having me.
Thanks, David.
All right. You have a good night.
Good night. All right. What we're going to do, fellas, is we're going to reboot the system. I want everybody out there who's watching, just hang tight. Don't go away. We're coming right back. Okay, we're back, and we got a new stream going, Ronnie?
It's still the same stream. We just had to go dead for a second.
All right, so we're back, and unfortunately, everything had frozen up. Ronnie, you want to show one clip?
Sure.
All right, here's what it is. We'll do the one where they meet Sugar on the train.
Oh, hang on a second.
Okay, yeah, it's
which one that is.
yeah, it's where they meet Sugar, number 4. All right, so again, this is a clip from the movie Some Like It Hot, 1959, and we said goodbye to our guest due to our, technical difficulty. But we're going to show this clip, and you'll get an idea about this movie.
Hi! I'm the bass fiddle. Just call me Daphne. Hi!
My name is Josephine. Sax.
Hi!
Welcome to No Man's Land.
You'll be sorry.
Take off your corsets and spread out.
Oh, well, I don't wear one myself.
Don't you bulge?
Huh? Bulge, me? I have the most divine seamstress. Comes in just once a month. Well, my dear, she is so inexpensive.
Come on,
and she told... Oh,
Daphne.
all right.
Say, kids, have you heard the one about the girl tuba player who was stranded on a desert island with a one-legged jockey?
No, how's it go?
Now, cut it out, girls. None of that rough talk. They went to a conservatory.
They went to a conservatory.
How about that talent, huh? It's like falling into a tub of butter.
Watch it, Daphne.
When I was a kid, Joe, I used to have a dream I was locked up overnight in a pastry shop, and there was goodies all around. There was jelly rolls and mocha eclairs and sponge cake and Boston cream pie and cherry tarts.
Listen to me. Huh? No butter, no pastry. We're on a diet.
Oh, yeah, well, sure, Joe.
Not there. That's the emergency brake.
Now you've done it. Now you have done it.
Done what?
You tore off one of my chests.
Well, you better go get it fixed.
Well, you better come help me.
This way, Daphne.
Now you tore the other one. I'm terribly sorry.
It's okay. I was scared it was Sweet Sue. You won't tell anybody, will you?
Tell what?
Well, if they catch me once more, they're going to kick me out of the band. You the replacement for the bass and sax?
That's us. And I'm Daphne. This is Josephine.
Come here.
Yeah.
I'm Sugar Kane.
Hi.
Sugar cane.
Yeah, I changed. I used to be Sugar Kowalczyk.
You Polish?
Yes. I come from this musical family. My mother is a piano teacher. And my father was a conductor.
Where did he conduct?
On the Baltimore and Ohio.
Oh.
I play the ukulele and I sing, too.
Sings, too.
Well, I don't have much of a voice, but then this isn't much of a band, either. I'm only with them because I'm running away.
Running away from what?
Oh, don't get me started on that. Hey, you want some? It's bourbon.
I'll take a rain check.
I don't want you to think I'm a drinker. I can stop any time I want to, only I don't want to, especially when I'm blue.
We understand.
All the girls drink. It's just that I'm the one that gets caught. Story of my life. I always get the fuzzy end of the lollipop. Am I seeing straight?
I'll say.
Well, see you around, girls.
Bye, Sugar. We have been playing with the wrong band.
Down, Daphne.
How about the shape of that liquor cabinet, huh?
Forget it. One false move and they'll toss us off the train. Then there'll be the police, the papers, and the mob in Chicago.
Boy, would I love to borrow a cup of that sugar.
Look. No pastry, no butter, and no sugar.
Tore 'em again.
Well, it's a pretty funny premise. These two guys hiding out in a girls' band as girls' musicians, and it starts getting really zany. But I got to say, what David had said, our guest, about being ahead of its time, I would totally agree with that. The way that Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis were, dressed in drag throughout most of the movie, I do think that was ahead of its time. So, great movie. Go out there and get that. And I think, Ronnie and Maddie, I think it's that time of the night. Let's go to our final segment of the show, Always Chasing Rainbows. Well, as is our custom with Chillin' with Larry Megan, we usually end every show with a segment celebrating Judy Garland. As you know, she's my favorite, and I find her music and her moments in film to be inspirational on her TV shows, her concerts as well. And tonight what I picked is from her TV show back in the 1962 and 63 time period. She sang a song that kind of became a signature song for her, although it was really more closely identified with Lena Horne. But Judy certainly made it her own. It was Stormy Weather. And that's what we're going to share tonight. Let's take a look.
We We usually end the show up such a happy show. We ended up on a terribly sad song. So I don't see any reason to break the pattern. Let's try where? There you go. Let's try it.
Don't know why there's no sun up in the sky. Stormy weather since my man and I ain't together. It's raining all the time. Life is bare, gloom and misery everywhere. Stormy weather, just can't get my poor self together. I'm weary all the time. So weary all the time. When he went away, the blues walked in and met me. If he stays away, old rocking chair will get me. All I do is pray that the Lord above will let me walk in the sun once more. Can't go. Everything I had is gone. Stormy weather since my man and I ain't together. Keeps raining all the time. Keeps raining all the time. I walk around heavy hearted and sad. Night comes around and I'm still feeling bad. Rain pouring down, blinding every hope I had. This pittering, pattering, beating and splattering drives me mad. Love, 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 love. This misery is just too much for me. Can't go. Everything I had is gone. Stormy weather since my man and I ain't together. Keeps raining keeps raining all the time.
Well, that brings us to the close of another show tonight, and I thought it was a great show. I really enjoyed our guest tonight, David Dzuirzynski. David, thank you so much for being a part of the show, and definitely one of my favorite shows. I really enjoyed it. The garages and the cars and the estate and everything else. And here's a picture of David and his father with their hobby of collecting cars and everything. And great to see that great relationship, too, between father and son. And I also want to thank two of my friends for calling in. Don Gallagher, first time I think he's ever called into my show. And, of course, Scott. I was trying to think the last time I saw Scott, and I think it was in 2003 when we actually saw each other down in Los Angeles. So that would be 9 years ago. Of course, we speak periodically throughout the year, but I think we haven't spoken in probably 6 months. So, Scott, it was great reminiscing and reconnecting with you. Thank you for joining the show tonight. So that's pretty much it. Maddie, great job of overcoming that freeze up, and we had to reboot and everything. That was pretty quick. Good job. Thank you, Ronnie and Stacia and Candy out there on the phone. Appreciate it. So, until next week, just remember, never give up. Keep going after your dreams and goals. Keep chasing those rainbows. Until next week, I'm Larry Megan. Peace, love, and all good things.
Chill with Larry Megan.